individual home? Is it a common area? Is it the community area? What is it?
I didn't, Kim collects some surveys. I know she collected one from me, and it defines and shows what's common area and what the person is.
Here's what I would say on that issue, Roxy. There's no answer right now. It's going to require a lot of work, and if we want a quick answer on it, it's probably going to require us $10,000–$12,000 to get those answers. Because we're going to have to go through and look at every deed, look at every plat, and for what I'm running across, and I can't give an answer yet because I haven't got that far. My salary is pretty poor compared to what a lawyer would be. Every village may be different. I'm missing a plat in our village, and I haven't got to the actual plats to look at things. So it's going to take some time unless we want to spend a lot of money and hire somebody to work on it full time.
Well, the suggestion there was that the verbiage within the documents get corrected so it matches.
You got to find all the documents.
So, well, they were comparing village documents to master documents. Therefore, they saw Bush Ross as the answer for a legal opinion on it. But it may be more complicated.
It's a lot more complicated. You got to go through and find each document. You got to go through and look at each plat. It's not as easy as somebody holding up a book and saying, "Oh, this is the way it is," because till we look at every village, and I don't forget what there's 30-some villages in here, and you look at the plats in each village, and when I did property research as a county road superintendent, some of the things you find are great surprises. So it's I wouldn't recommend to the board that they would go out on the limb on anything until it's actually proved village by village, because it's something that's very important for us to get right the first time and ensure that when we solve this, that it's solved permanently.
You know, I think the other thing is, when we get our manager, that would be their responsibility for seeking and finding out all this information.
Does the association have those documents?
We don't know yet for sure.
Okay, because I would think that when property was turned over.
That's what we're checking through.
Okay.
When you find out what you want to find out, is it going to be that each village will be different, or it'll be the same for all the villages?
We don't know.
You don't know. So possibly each village could be different.
Yeah, mine's maintained, and they said, you're fixing that sidewalk. And it buckled up to where someone could go along and maybe trip and injure themselves. They said I would be liable. So I had it fixed, and I would.
Not knowing exactly what's going on, but we as a builder, as a community, own the streets. I'm making the assumption, and it's probably a pretty fair one, knowing other homeowners associations, that the association also owns the sidewalk, because that's public trail.
We don't know.
Well, I'll bet you'll find that out.
You have non-maintained, self-maintained villages. They're different than maintained.
Heritage Pines owns the streets. They're private streets. That's why we're having to do it.
CDD owns the code. CDD owns the code.
Maintain.
But not the sidewalks.
It appears when I ran across, the curbing is owned by us, but leased to the CDD for maintenance. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to get through it all, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be months of research.
Dan.
Now, I'd like to bring up another issue that I think is very important. Before we spend close to $1 million on repaving roads and repairing roads, we've got a major issue in this community of sinkholes. And I'm going to give you an example. Fairway Green. You could go on one side of the street and have 4 or 5 houses in a row have been sinkhole repaired. go across the street, 4 to 5 houses in a row, and opposite have sinkhole repairs. You can go down the block, you've got sinkhole repairs, again, both sides of the street. If we go in and we start to fix these streets, what do we know about what's under the street? We don't know if that sinkhole, we just got fixed, a 206 house, we just got grouted 2 weeks ago, 270 cubic yards of cement under a 206 house. Our depths were 60 and 65 feet for the hole. This is major stuff. We need to know, we need to do an investigation, we need to know and plot where the sinkholes activity are in the community so that we can look and study the area with the heaviest volume, find out what the depths are. Let's see if we can try and get some sort of a tracing of where this hole might be crossing over lines, because it doesn't know a boundary at all. So it doesn't know your property line ends there at the curb. Are we gonna be having issues when we put money to waste and all of a sudden we're gonna have a collapse that's gonna happen? Because the sinkhole will continue to grow and grow and grow. So we need to look into this before we waste $1 million. So I'm putting it out that we try and get a comprehensive study of where the sinkhole activity is now. And it can be done through a survey, it can be done through email so that we get people to come up and share the information with us. It's also public record, but we also have a number of engineers, road construction people that have some experience that can guide us in how to look at this the best way. But I think it's an issue that we need to investigate before we put $1 million into another project.
Anyone else on that topic? Sinkholes in the streets? Here we are, ready for our first phase this year of maybe repairing those streets. Anyone else? Oh, same topic?
I would agree with Kathy that it would make some sense before we throw away $1 million to know what we're paving over. There are sinkholes in a number of our villages. We may have the first big one in Pines Glen. The homeowner won't know for another couple of weeks. To just go ahead and spend $1 million harks back to the days of, the most recent days of spending money foolishly.
Larry, what's the update on that, on this? Yes.
We aren't spending $1 million right now. The street repair projects are spread over the next 15 to 20 years. All we're talking about this year is Grand Club Drive and the road out here in front of the clubhouse and the parking lots. The rest of these roads, are not programmed to start spending for at least 5 years. In that time, we can do some of these studies that we're talking about to try to overcome any doubts that anybody may have. But it's not $1 million being thrown out here today or tomorrow. It's spread out over the next 15, 16 years.
No matter what you want us to start to do, and it may be small and not a lot of money, you still want to know that whatever you're going to do, you're not throwing away your money, and there are no sinkholes underneath where you're going to fix it up. So before you start, if it's just in a small area, so not small area, at least investigate that you don't have any sinkholes under there before you fix it, because that'd be then a waste of money.
And check the master insurance plan to see if there is any coverage.
No, only our buildings are covered.
Larry, I understand what you're saying, but frankly, I wouldn't care if it was $5 that we were going to spend. I don't want to spend $5 until I know what we're spending it on.
Right.
On the sinkhole subject, I understand the realtors are experiencing a huge problem with resales because of the changes in the law that a potential buyer can come in here and they now have to have an inspection on a property for sinkholes. And with all this activity that's going on here with sinkholes, a lot of times they're denying them insurance, so therefore the sale doesn't go through. So, I mean, some consideration needs to be put with that before we're investigating the entire roads here, because you may never, ever be able to sell a house in this community then.
And I think, Kathy, if I'm right, your suggestion was first try to gather the information as to who has had their homes repaired, and you will see a pattern
Right,
of where the biggest issues are.
right.
So I would start with that.
So you're recommending an engineering study,
No.
basically? No?
Oh.
Yeah, an information gathering system where we can document it on our major map as to where we have issues. And
There you
then
go,
from there, we
narrow.
can then determine more where the hole might be going, because a hole will cross lines, it will go diagonal, go straight. It could be just under one structure, but it could be going across the street. We don't know, but if we can try and get some sort of a handle, then we might be able to pinpoint an area that we might want to do a further study before we investigate. That might be a pinpoint area, and I'll give again, Fairway Green, being that there's so much activity right there on that particular corner when you turn in by the monument. Everything is happening in that area that has been major, a collapse of a home. It's gone right down Heritage Point Drive, it's now happening too. It might pay to take a test study and do a boring to see if we've got an issue, that if we have a road collapse, that we don't have somebody's automobile in there and have a catastrophe and a loss of life. So I'm just saying, before we go and we spend a lot of money, if we see an area that might be having some issues, let's look at it a little bit closer, let's see what documentation we can find around that area, study it ourselves, we can start tracking. 3 of my neighbors and I, we've tracked where the sinkhole is between our 3 houses in a row. We know where we have it in our front, we know where we have it going through the center of our house, and where it is on an angle coming out from the back to the front. We've already done that by looking at our studies. So why can't we do this on a bigger scale and start looking at it? It will take some time and it will take some knowledge, but we have enough engineers here in this community that can look at it. I'm not an engineer, but hey, if I can figure it out, someone else can.
I wanted to start at a simpler level. I have no idea how many people have had to file a claim. I know on our street, we've had 4 homes that have a problem, and there's a 5th one that's waiting because the repair on one may have caused a problem. So I wonder how many people, I don't know if you could even do it by village, just to have a general idea of just how widespread it is.
This question came up at the Council of Villages. I'm trying to determine, one of the questions asked is how many people have had their homes inspected and have not been told they have a sinkhole, versus how many have been inspected and have been told they have a sinkhole.